The Three Universal Truths, a deep dive into Buddha's foundational teachings. The teachings of the Buddha are vast, profound, and transformative. At the heart of his enlightenment are three foundational insights, often referred to as the Three Universal Truths. These truths are not philosophical theories, but direct observations about the nature of reality, human life, and the path to liberation. Understanding them deeply is essential for anyone seeking inner peace, spiritual growth, and a life free from unnecessary suffering. Let us explore each of these truths in detail. 1. Anicca, impermanence. Anicca, the Pali word for impermanence, is the first of the three universal truths. It states that all things are in a constant state of change. Everything that arises will pass away. This is not just true for physical objects, but also for our feelings, thoughts, relationships, and even our identity. The world we live in is a flow of continuous transformation. From the moment we are born, we are changing, growing older, learning new things, losing old habits, forming new ones. Buddha observed that attachment to impermanent things is the root cause of suffering. We tend to hold on to people, experiences, and outcomes, believing they will bring lasting happiness. But because they are impermanent, we are inevitably met with disappointment and pain when they change or disappear. This truth teaches us to live with awareness and acceptance of change, to appreciate the present without becoming attached to it, and to let go when the time comes. Anicca also teaches us humility. No matter how powerful or successful we may become, we are subject to the same laws of nature. Our youth will fade, our possessions will decay, and our lives will end. But instead of despairing, understanding impermanence can help us live more fully, value our moments, and cultivate gratitude. We begin to see that clinging is futile, and that peace comes from embracing the natural rhythm of life. In meditation, practitioners often observe the changing nature of bodily sensations, thoughts, and emotions. Through this direct experience, one begins to internalize the truth of impermanence, not just as a concept, but as a lived reality. This realization weakens the grip of attachment and opens the door to liberation. 2. Dukkha, suffering or unsatisfactoriness. The second universal truth is dukkha, commonly translated as suffering, though a more accurate term might be unsatisfactoriness. According to Buddha, life in its ordinary form is filled with dukkha. This does not mean that every moment is miserable, but that even pleasurable experiences are ultimately unsatisfying because they are fleeting and conditioned. Dukkha manifests in many ways: the pain of physical and emotional suffering, the anxiety of uncertainty, the dissatisfaction with what we have, and the grief that comes with loss. Even when life appears to be going well, there is often a subtle undercurrent of unease, the feeling that something is missing, that we are not fully content. This is because we are constantly chasing happiness in things that cannot provide it permanently. The Buddha taught that this suffering arises because of our desires and attachments. We want things to be a certain way, and we suffer when reality does not match our expectations. We seek pleasure, avoid pain, and become trapped in cycles of craving and aversion. Dukkha is not just external hardship. It is deeply rooted in the way our minds function. Understanding dukkha is not meant to be pessimistic. It is a call to awaken. When we recognize that lasting satisfaction cannot be found in external things, we are encouraged to turn inward. We start looking for peace, not in the changing world, but in a transformed state of mind. Acknowledgement of suffering is the first step on the path to its end. Buddha did not stop at identifying dukkha. He offered a path to overcome it, which he elaborated in the Four Noble Truths and the Noble Eightfold Path. In everyday life, embracing the truth of dukkha allows us to be more compassionate. We see that everyone, regardless of status or background, experiences suffering. This recognition softens our hearts and strengthens our resolve to be kind, understanding, and forgiving. 3. Anatta, non-self. The third universal truth, anatta, may be the most challenging to understand. Yet, it is the most liberating. Anatta means non-self, the idea that there is no unchanging, permanent self or soul within us. What we think of as the self, our name, body, thoughts, memories, emotions, is actually a constantly changing flow of experiences. Most people operate under the belief that there is a core I that is separate and constant. This belief leads to ego, pride, jealousy, and fear. We protect this self-image, defend it, and try to make it happy. But according to Buddha, this self is an illusion. Clinging to it creates suffering because we are trying to hold on to something that doesn't truly exist in the way we think it does. Understanding anatta frees us from the prison of ego. When we realize that our thoughts and emotions are not mine, but just passing phenomena, we gain space from them. We no longer have to take everything personally. We stop needing to prove ourselves, compare ourselves, or control every aspect of life. This truth also leads to great compassion. When we see that others are also trapped in the illusion of self, we feel more connected to them. The boundaries between me and you begin to soften. We realize that we are not separate beings fighting for survival, but expressions of the same universal process of life. In meditation, the experience of anatta often arises as a moment of profound clarity. The sense of self dissolves, and what remains is awareness itself, open, peaceful, and free. This is not a denial of existence, but a recognition of its true nature. These three universal truths, anicca, dukkha, and anatta, are deeply interconnected. Impermanence, anicca, leads to suffering, dukkha. When we cling to what changes, suffering is intensified by the illusion of a permanent self, anatta. But when we see that all things are changing and that there is no fixed self to cling to, we begin to let go. In that letting go, suffering diminishes and peace arises. The Buddha's path is not about believing in these truths intellectually. It is about seeing them directly through mindfulness, meditation, and wise living. As we do, our perspective on life shifts. We become less reactive, more compassionate, and deeply at peace. In practical life, these truths encourage us to live simply, to let go of pride and ego, to accept change with grace, and to respond to suffering with wisdom. We learn to cherish each moment, not because it will last forever, but because it won't. The three universal truths form the foundation of the Buddha's teaching. They are not religious dogmas, but universal insights that apply to all people, regardless of background or belief. They invite us to examine our lives, to see clearly, and to awaken to a deeper reality. Impermanence teaches us to value life without clinging. Suffering shows us the need for inner transformation. Non-self liberates us from the illusion of ego and separation. Together, they offer a powerful guide to freedom. In a world full of distractions and desires, the wisdom of the Buddha still shines like a lamp in the darkness. Those who seek to understand and live by these truths will find not only clarity, but also a deep and lasting peace within.